Hello, and welcome to the Fogler Library tutorial about how to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is the presentation of someone else's words, ideas, images, or creative works without giving them proper credit. Plagiarism is often easy to understand, but hard to spot. Although plagiarism is usually accidental, unintentional plagiarism is still plagiarism. What does plagiarism look like? Here are a few examples. First, let's talk about paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is when you put someone else's idea into your own words and sentence structure. You can't simply replace one or two words and consider that paraphrasing. Here's an example. The original quote is, "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings," from Julius Caesar. Too close is, Cassius tells Brutus that the fault isn't in their stars, but in themselves. Well paraphrased is, Cassius says their own choices and not fate prevented them from being leaders. Next, let's talk about direct quotations. That is, quoting a source word for word using quotation marks. Correct quotation, word for word. Quote, "Poor sleep quality, shortened sleep duration, and emergent sleep disorders are ubiquitous among college students." End quote. Incorrect quotation, not word for word. Poor sleep, shortened sleep, and emergent sleep disorders are common among college students. Direct quotations can be an easy way to avoid plagiarism, but should only be used when the exact words of the original source are important to convey. Otherwise, it makes sense to paraphrase. Plagiarism applies not only to words, but also to ideas. Paraphrasing the source does not make an idea from the source our idea. We still need to provide in-text citations and full references to sources from which we've lifted observations or lines of argument. Failing to cite the idea. Though there hasn't been much research about internal branding between businesses, other related research can still be useful. Citing the idea. Though there hasn't been much research about internal branding between businesses, other related research can still be useful. Baumgarth and Schmidt, 2010. Let's briefly talk about self-plagiarism. This is when we include an idea or quotation from a previous paper or work of ours without citing it. This may happen simply because we don't know it's considered plagiarism, but it is. Even if you're quoting something from a previous work of yours, make sure you cite it. The good news is, plagiarism isn't hard to avoid. As you saw in the examples we discussed, the most important thing you can do is to cite any quote, paraphrase, or idea from another person's work, or yours, to give them credit. After all, if you came up with a great idea that other people were writing about, wouldn't you want credit for it? Citing your sources also helps your readers follow up on claims or resources they find compelling. Other tips include, take notes as you read so that you keep track of whose ideas you're using, borrowing, or building on. If you keep track of whether you've copied a direct quote or have paraphrased an author's idea, you'll be able to use and attribute it correctly without having to worry about accidental plagiarism. Be sure that graphs, statistics, and other borrowed materials are identical to the source. If you've made changes to an image, for instance, you'll want to note what those changes are in your paper. Be sure that in your paraphrase you represent the author's meaning without distortion. Double-check that your paraphrase retains the author's original meaning while also showing your understanding of that meaning. So, in summary, plagiarism happens when you don't paraphrase, quote, or credit ideas from other people's work or from your own previous work. You can avoid plagiarism by making sure you cite other people's work or anything you created in the past. Make sure when you quote something, you're using the exact words from the original source. Make sure when you're paraphrasing something, you've completely rephrased it into your own words, not just changed a few words. Thanks for watching this tutorial. If you have questions, please get in touch with the librarian using the contact information on the catalog homepage. We'll be happy to help you.